Welcome to the Android tutorial for internal database. So if you have a project and if you open that, you will see that you have a database handler .java file. So this is our internal database. So if you double click and open that file, you can see that the file would contain some variables like database name, table constants, its columns, and so on. So let's have a look at what are they. So first we have is database name. So we create an constant string variable and name it as database name, and we have named our database as user, and in that database we create an table that's called as customers, and we have columns as ID, name, email, mobile number, and the password. In your project you might have some other column names or some other table name. So to create this file, we extend this Java file with an SQLite Opal helper. So using that you can create your database, and with that you would have an onCreate option or onCreate function predefined, and you will have onUpgrade function predefined. So in this onCreate section we have to create our table. So we'll write an SQL query that will create a table. So it says create table, table constants, that is our customer, would append over here, and the columns and its variable type. So using this we would create our table, and by saying db.execute our SQL query, we'll create an table. Next we have is our functions. So each function would be different in each project, but there are some basic functions like add and get. So to get a specific column, we use our cursor object. So by using this cursor object you can create an SQL query which says get data from this table constant, which is our customer, and the columns which we need. So if we need a name or something over here, we will just add a comma and the name. So this is how we can get more than one columns. So here I need only ID, so I'll say this. And if you want to append your where clause, you can just add it over here, stating your column name plus a string which contains equal to and your value. So let's say it's 1001. So it will give me only value for ID 1001, but here I don't need any where clause or something, so I'll say null. And if you want to use order by clause, you can just add it over here in this section. So if you create an new cursor or new DB query, it will be like cursor equal to DB query, and you will get some options. So we select this option, and then you can see that where to add all this clause. So if you want to add your order by clause, you can add it over here. If you want to add your group by clause or any other thing, you can add it over here. So in distinct we will say true if you want true, or false if you don't want any distinct. Then the table name, then column name, then where clause, then arguments, and group by. So if you don't want any of this stuff, you can just say null and replace that. So this is how you can create a query for a particular column or stuff. And to check whether that the query has any data or not, so you can just say cursor dot get count. So what does this happens, the data from your query would be stored in the cursor, and we'll check that if cursor is greater than 0, that means it has some rows, and we'll move the cursor to the first row and perform our task. And this is how you can get the data from that particular cursor. So if you have more than one columns over here, so you can just replace that by that particular column. So if you have key underscore email, you could just replace this and you will get your email over here, and by replacing it with 0, it will get you the first data. So I will remove this email as it was. So as I don't need that, and I will perform my task, and I will close the cursor and I will return it. So I'm returning a string over here. If I don't want to return or anything, I will just change this to string to void, and I will say return null, or I won't say any return statement. Or if you want a boolean, you can just return a boolean and say return true or return false. So this is how you get a particular query. So now let's see how to add rows into that database. So to add a row into to add values into the database, you would need an SQLite variable, and to get that you would have to say this dot get writable database. Next we create a variable for content values. So this content values puts your data at one place and then inserts it. So let's see how that works. So we create an content values object, and then we put our column name, that's our key ID and all, and we add a parameter passing our values. So here I can just say 101 or any other stuff. If you wish, you can change it your way. So here I will just replace it to what it was. So simply you have to enter the data for all the rows, or if you wish, you just don't want to add mobile number, you can just delete that, or if you want you can just not write that. So after initializing this content values, you would have to run an db.insert query. So insert takes a parameter of 3. First is your table name, and last is the object of the content values, and then you close the database. So this is how you can insert a query or insert a row into your database by just creating an object of content values and then inserting it into the database. So next you have is get a particular field for a particular ID. So you can simply just create a cursor and pass the table name and the column name, and you can add a where clause over here which states your key ID is equal to this and your value. So this is how you can get your name and other stuff. If you want to get balance or any other thing, you can perform it like this and you can get the data. And let's see, so just a second, we'll see how to update a data. So this is the another database handler file from another project. Here we have created more than one tables and we have created columns for that particular table. So here you can see that there is an add query and we have an update query. Let's go through. So here we have an update query. So you can see that we are passing some strings which you want to change the data for, and then we are creating an content values again, and we are setting it up as same way as insert query, but this time we'll just put the values for the columns which we need, and then we'll say db.update the table name and the values, which is content values object, and we'll pass an vary clause if you need, or you can just say null if you want to update for all the table of all the data. So in vary clause you will just pass your column name equal to your value. So this is how you can update any data into your database. And let's see how to delete any data which you need. So same way, just you need to create an writable database. So SQLite database dot get writable database and db.delete your table name and the condition which you need, that's the vary clause, and this will run your file, this will run your query, and this will delete the data. So now let's see how to call our functions. So these are my functions. Each functions need to be called in different places. So this is how we call our database handler file. So we'll create an object of that file. So we have created a db, and we'll pass a context, that is again our activity name dot this, that's our home dot this, and then in try and catch we'll just perform our task. So I have returning string over here, so I'm creating a string pass which will get data. So we say db dot get pass, which is our function over here. So we are calling that function and we are passing the argument as we have stated, string id. So I am passing an id and I am getting this data in this pass. So if there are any errors, it will just go and catch and perform the stuff which you have written. To get any errors, you can just say ep, that's our exception variable or an object, and you can say get message. So this will display our message or the error message, and you will come to know that what's the problem with your code. So same way you can just create a class or create a function and use it over here, and you can insert, add and delete the stuff which you need using our database handler class. So don't forget that you need to create an constant variable for your database name, table name, and the column names, and create your table in onCreate function, and then perform your task by creating methods and call them. So this is how an internet database with an Android project works. Thank you.